Fáilte Stecha when you used to in Pod Cradle Shaw. This is a podcast commemorating 100 years of the GAA in Ardra, because 100 years ago this year, our club was founded. And during those long years, we have had many people who carried a heavy load of administration, of work on the fields, and building the facilities of the club. And one of those is Columba Diver. Columba, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Your first involvement in the club, I suppose, as a child, going down to Kentucky and watching matches, and probably along with your father at the time, Columba, was it?
Well, the longest memory I can remember is Frankie Brennan's faded jersey. Frankie was one of the men that always took home his jersey, and he had the same jersey for every game. He looked after it himself, and it was years old. It was always faded, so I remember that jersey very well. But I haven't a good memory of all the games much. But I was involved with my father. My father was very involved at the time, mostly in fundraising. And when there would be fundraising going on, I would be the messenger boy around the town. And there would have been a silver circle up in Tommy Boyle's every Sunday night. And
all right.
Danny High would have been there, and Big Paddy, and my father, and Thomas Boyle, and myself.
Right.
I was the one going around the town. I was the messenger
Selling the tickets,
trying to sell it, you know.
Yeah. The prizes wouldn't have been very big, Columba, were they?
Oh, they wouldn't be very big, no, but sure.
No.
It was all about making a few bob for the club. But we always managed to stay in the black every year, which was very important.
Which is important, yeah. And then later on, I suppose, you started playing with the club probably when you were a teenager, when you were 15 or 16, or maybe less than that, were you?
Yeah.
You started playing.
Well, I started playing very young. Yeah. Well, under 16 football was the first thing I played, but I probably played it when I was about 12. You know, I played against Liam McSoon. I played against Liam McSoon at Glenties, and I believe he's about 6 years older than me now.
Was that a tough battle? Was it?
Well,
it must have been, if you still remember it.
That first game in Glenties, under 16 level, was. There were cars leaving our house to go to the game, and I couldn't get on the cars. There were probably only about 2 cars, but one were piled in, you know, or maybe 3 at the most. I put the rig on the bicycle and I cycled to Glenties, and ended up getting plain and gold. We had a good kick out.
Good man yourself.
And,
yeah.
Dan Shovlin was referee in that game. He was from Tullyclever. I think he was living in Glenties. Fonzie Wayne was the manager, I think.
Who won?
Liam McSoon hit me near the end of the game and left me for dead. In gold. Were you
surprised at that?
I was the last man standing.
Good man.
So,
all right.
Anyway, that was the start.
You continued on then, and
I played for the junior team very young now, fairly young.
Yeah, all right, yeah. And then later on in the 60s, then you and towards the end of the 60s, you played senior football for the amalgamated teams that were around at the time, like St Enda's and St Patrick's. And the amalgamated was Killybegs, I suppose, and
yeah. I played for all those teams. Yeah, the amalgamated Killybegs and Ardra. I played for all those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some lit players, and them on those teams. All right. Yes.
Some very good players, but there's no training done.
No collective training at all. No, just like a team.
Just talked out and did your best.
That's right. Yeah.
But
one great man on that team. He died afterwards. Was Des Hoolan. He was from Port Leash, but he played for Killybegs and he played for the county. But he played for that amalgamated team. And funny enough, I was in New York playing for Donegal myself, and he was in New York playing for Donegal the day they took the turn on the field out of the field long on that day. And he took the turn and he died from that. You know, died very young.
He did, unfortunately, yeah. But he had a great reputation in this county as was he a corner forward? Was he for Donegal?
He was, yeah. That's right.
And he was one of the greats. One of the greats at the time, and playing locally for the club. Well. He was a joint player, he was a hurler as well. He played hurling for
Donegal. Oh, that's right. A very good player. Yeah. And it was sad the way he died.
Very, very sad, yeah, unfortunately. But you like a lot of young men and women from this community, you emigrated, you went to England and then to America. Did you play much football in England?
No, I was running in England from the 2nd of October to the 17th of March. I remember it well. 65, 66. That was the year that I think the pillar in Dublin. I was working in Dublin before I went away, and when I came back in March, the pillar was gone. That was the year the pillar was going up.
All right, 1966.
But I played from the 7th of November to the 7th of March that year. I played for Chicago Gaels. That's much of the
Right. Okay. Was there any?
I would only make a bit of money to clear my debts. I had a bad car accident. I would make a bit of money to clear my debts.
Right. Okay. Okay. Were there many from our job in playing in London at that time?
There was the showman film. There was a film, Maloney film Bracky, and there was Mark Green's brother Raymond, and
right.
there was young McHugh from Hillhead.
Vincent McHugh, was it?
Not Vincent. There was Vincent McHugh as well, yeah. But there was
there? Yeah, yeah, yeah. But most of the footballers emigrated, didn't they?
Yeah, some stage or another, yeah.
Some stage or other, yeah.
Like after the 67 junior final that we won, I think I drove 5 footballers to the airport in Dublin and to go to England and never came back.
That was unfortunate for the club, but they had no choice but to emigrate. They had no choice. You wanted to make a living, you had to get out of here, out of this country, and head away. Then you after London, you headed for New York, Columba.
New York in late 1970, yes.
Yeah.
Christmas Eve 1970, actually.
Right. You went away on Christmas Eve.
I was ready to go away Christmas Eve 1970. I was going for 2 weeks.
Right.
So
had you work lined up over New York or?
No, I hadn't. Right. I decided a house bought in Gweedore. I thought I was going to stay in Gweedore for the rest of my life.
Right.
But
so you headed to America to put a roof on the house, was it?
No. We ended up getting married when we got back. Margaret was in America at the time.
Oh, you went over. Margaret was there already, was she?
Yeah.
Oh, that's it.
That'll tell you how you went.
Did you? Yeah. Oh, that's a romantic story now for. Did you play football in New York, Columba?
I did, yes. I played for New York, yes.
Good man.
Enjoyed my time there, made a lot of friends. And
right.
Football was good to me. Well, Vince McConnell was very good to me over
there. That's good. Yeah.
And your man Phil Brennan from Ballyliffin, he got me into the union and everything.
Yeah, so that was important.
And then Vincent got me a job, and I was done very well. For my 3.5 years or so in America, I've done very well. Yeah. Football was good to me.
Football good. The social life was good, and did you get married in New York?
Got married in New York, yes.
All right, okay. And then you decided, like many immigrants, to return home.
We were both illegal aliens, and we couldn't come home.
All right, but you did come home.
We came home eventually. Came home in May 1970, yes. Right, 74.
Right. So you weren't really actively involved in the club then until 1975, that famous AGM in the courthouse.
Yes, I believe you. I think you ran it yourself.
It was, yeah. And a lot of us wouldn't have been there, but for the fact that it was a wet, stormy day.
Well, I'll tell you the truth. That when I came back from New York, I had wild ambitions to play for Ira again, and Charlie Mooney and myself fell out. Charlie was team manager, and the first game, I wasn't home in time for the first game. The first game was in Glenties, and I remember well the day that Noel Husky started playing first. And Noel was flying up the left wing. He was a great young player. Right. And I watched that game from the sideline because I was watching him on the Friday or the Saturday.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he came over. At that time, it was to try to be in time for the championship. But anyway, right. The replay was in Sandfield. We were playing in Sandfield at that time, and the replay was in Sandfield, and Charlie wouldn't put me on. He had me and himself for 2 subs, really put himself on. I'd rather lost the game by a point. Me and Charlie had words, and I never played that.
You never talked about for it after that.
After that.
But that didn't stop your involvement with the
But
club.
I started playing golf then. I started playing golf then. I was playing golf then nearly 7 days a week. 7 Tom O'Donnell and Brian Campbell across and
Right.
ones like that.
Right.
And
And it was because it wasn't a day for golf that you attended that famous AGM.
I remember seeing you at the kitchen that day, and my father says to me, "Somebody, the annual meeting's on today." He says, "I didn't even know it was on." And he says, "The annual meeting's on today," and he says, "Seeing a snow day for golf, maybe you will go to it." So I did go to it with him. My father was always pushing for the club, you know.
Yeah.
One way or another.
Good
So
on him. Yeah.
I went to the meeting anyway, and they were looking for a chairman, and round the house anyway. And Tommy Boyle proposed me, and I turned down totally. I would never have seen myself as a candidate for chairman.
Right.
Because I would have been very shy in front of a camera.
Right.
In fact, I'll say later on that was, but anyway, we're round.
No, anyway.
I refused the first time, and
Yeah.
started again, and it was the second time I think I refused, and I finally
I
gave in to
remember-
him. I had certain reasons for going to him in the end, and I gave in to him in the end. He forced me into it, and
I remember the election of officers that day took 2 hours. Now there's only about a dozen of us in the courthouse, but nobody. There was a kind of a stand, and in fairness to the older men that were there, they weren't going to leave the courthouse until there was an executive appointed, an officer board appointed. And I remember Tommy Tom saying, and I always thought Tommy was an old man. Tommy was only 55 years of age at the time.
Right.
But he says, "Do you know what we'll do?" He says, "We'll go back to the old stagers again." He says, "I propose Francie Diver as chairman," and Trump says, "No, I'll take it." So that was the beginning of your second career, was the Ardra Club.
Well,
And you haven't been inactive for one single solitary week since that until now. Good man yourself.
well, I was going to say.
So you were chairman then for.
Well, I was going to say there. I never see myself as chairman material.
Yeah.
As you well know, because I would say you stood in for me at minutes a mic.
Charlie Bunny used to say, "You go up and do the speaking for Columba."
I must hold some kind of a record in Ireland for being chairman for 11 or 12 years without ever speaking at a mic.
The speech.
If anyone can ever find a photograph of me speaking at a mic, I would like to see it.
Right. No, but you didn't. You talked in other ways. You talked.
For that reason, I never thought I was chairman material. But
But when you took over as chairman that time from the pitch, we were playing in Sandfield, weren't we? And the Kentucky needed a big overhaul because we couldn't get underage players that time because it was too far to go.
Correct, that's right.
So unless the pitch was in or near the town, the club was going to die. So how did you go about renovating the pitch?
Well, the pitch in fairness was being started. They had started renovating the pitch before when I came back from America. It must have started about 73 or 74. You know, it was in progress when I came back. You see, every meeting ever I went to in the early years, all I could hear was from the old people was Kentucky will never be a pitch because it's too low, it can't be drained. And that went on and on and on and on. And they never wanted to spend too much money in Kentucky for that reason. I remember my father was talking one day about he was really going to build a pitch out here on top of the hill where I'm living now. We were talking about pitch there, talking about pitches in a lot of different places. The field out behind the rectory, the Columba and Drow, they were talking about that field and trying to get what used to be Charlie Bryce's that in and along with it. They were trying to make a field there. And they were looking at a field out along the river out in Gillespie's land out in the wood. And they were looking everywhere, but they never thought of developing in Kentucky, you know. But as time went on, then you see, we realised that why Kentucky couldn't be drained was because of fire roots. The place was full of fire roots, and the drains was full of fire roots. And with modern machinery and chainsaws and different things, that we were fitted to the roots out.
Right.
And before I go any further, I wanted to mention fast schemes in case I would forget. Fast schemes has been very good to us down the years. I would say no club in Ireland made more use of fast schemes than our club. And we had great workers. I'm not going to try to mention names because I'm bound to forget ones, but it was massive when we got out of fast scheme, you know. And the first of them started in about 1976. It was called the Socialist Employment Scheme at that time.
Right.
And from that day to this is still going on, and we got great use out of them. It was huge. And I became chairman of that, and I'm still chairman. So time my name came out that.
You're still chairman of
76
the
now. 76 now.
Right.
Anyway, that's the fact. I want to say thanks to all the fast men, and I never got a chance to thank them before. And where was I? I was going to.
We're training.
Oh, I trained the
field.
With modern methods and different things. And other, we were fitted to take the roots out of. In fact, Hugh Differ was there at that time. Them roots came out, and he was down with a chainsaw and one thing and another. And we were fitted lower the drain. It turned out when we took proper levels, there was more than 9 feet of a fall in the field. From the top to where the drain right at the old restrooms. So there was plenty of room for development, you know. So from that on, then we got more heart in developing the field, you know. So,
but it turned out a very good surface, because even the visiting teams always felt, especially in the summertime, there was a great pitch to play on because there was a bit of a give in it.
I remember the Great Killie Begs team that won several championships. I remember several of them saying to me they always looked for Ardra to play in because they loved the surface. You see, there was a give in it, and even to this day, you know, there's a give in that surface, and it would be nearly a pity to do away with it. You know, we have the hard surface out in the new field, which is all right too. But the surface of the old field was in my opinion,
especially in the summertime when
it's powerful good for I'm going to try.
No, especially in the summertime when other pitches hardened up.
That's right.
Kentucky was it was a soft.
But this past year we've used it. We've used it steady the whole way from March till the first of the end of September, the whole way through without a break, and it worked very well this year. You know. And but I remember I was telling you, I've lost.
It wasn't just the draining of the pitch, but then the perimeter drain as well was put in, and
and then the fencing came up, and the fencing, and then the dressing rooms came up after that, and
So gradually, it, from being a pitch that you couldn't play on became a very, very sought after pitch.
Yeah, correct. Yes.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. And then when that was completed, the idea came up that we needed a practice pitch away from that pitch there.
Well, with ladies football and everything coming on, you could never manage one pitch, you know.
Yeah,
could never. So, but well, if you go back to where the money came from the new pitch was a great development altogether. I don't know, that's more in recent years, but if you go back to the buying of Sandfield, you know, that was a great achievement. It happened in the late 70s, early 80s. But then that was a very good buy, Sandfield, and the money from Sandfield ended up paying for a lot of the new field, you know.
Yeah.
But we were looking for a package field for years, but we eventually got it.
So the money that was got for the sale of Sandfield, we bought the land to build a new pitch on.
If you want to go back to the beginning, buying the Sandfield, they were a meeting. I was chairman that year, and it was up. The meeting was up upstairs in areas in the town, and Joe Larry. Well, Sandfield was for sale. There were 5 6 of Sandfield for sale for 500. For 5,000. 1,006.
Yeah.
And it was offered us for 1,006. If we didn't take it, it was going to go to public auction.
Right.
And we had no money. We had that kind of money. We never seen that kind of money in the stuff. And I remember Joe Larry hitting the wee table over. He was sitting on the couch down at the front of the room, and there were a wee coffee table in front of him. And he hit the coffee table and nearly made two halves of it. But his first, he says, "We have to buy it." He says, "Or we'll have a word to play."
That's right. Yeah.
And you were probably at that meeting, were you?
I vaguely remember it. Yeah.
And so anyway, it was decided that we would make an effort to buy it and make an effort to get the money. And we were around the town the following day, myself and a couple, and it only took about 2 hours to get 5,000.
That's very good. Yeah.
As quick as we get from one house to the other, we know that one refused us. And I think it's listed in the annual in the book, all the money,
Right.
all the people that paid the money. But it goes from 500 down to 100, and even maybe 50. And we didn't look for anything over 500 of anybody, and we got a lot of 500s, and not one penny of that money was ever asked back. So those people deserve a wild lot of credit.
Certainly. Yeah.
I think even today, if you're around the town looking for 5,000 in 2 hours, you're in trouble.
You probably would. Oh, you never know, Columba. It depends on it depends on the cause. It depends on the cause.
Anyway,
Yeah.
it was a fantastic achievement, and that would on then. You see, when it came to development in the Newfield, then the wildlife got interested. Everything happened at the right time, kind of, and we got good money for the wildlife.
Yeah, and that money helped to
buy the
land.
That ended up getting.
Yeah.
That was how we got round to our good practice field, which ended up the main field now. So.
Yeah. But there's one thing about the pitch, Columba. Another thing is to maintain it. And you have spent, I would say, between 40 and 50 years working down there. I remember a story, you might have been telling it yourself, or maybe it was Margaret told it, but somebody asked your son, Eamon, "Where's Daddy?" And Eamon says he's down at home. And what he was really saying was he's down in Kentucky, working on the pitch.
Oh, well. Really enjoyable. It's really enjoyable.
But you just put your whole all the spare time that you had, and probably more than what you should have. You spent it down there.
I took an interest in it, and the fact that I was I got into farming, then you see, and I got into drainage, and I thought I knew a bit about it,
Yeah.
All that led to one thing, led to another, and of course I thought I could do nothing right for myself.
But it's a good way. Well, you're totally committed to it, and I'll tell you something. The club, and the members of the club and the members of the community are deeply indebted to you for looking after it. Because as I said, one thing is building the pitch, but another thing is maintaining it, looking after it.
These new pitches, these modern pitches of today, needs more maintenance than anything. Our old pitch in Kentucky, you could plough it today and it would be green in 2 or 3 days again.
Yes.
But these sandy pitches has to be protected, and long after my day, I hope to remember that, because if you wear the grass off the sand, it doesn't grow overnight.
So it needs constant attention.
The old pitch would always grow back,
Yeah.
But these new pitches need a lot of maintenance, and it costs money too. You need to sand them every year and drain them, and they're big upkeep on them and all that.
I know. But there's great support within the community for fundraising, isn't there?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
There has been great people. There has been great people in the club over the years. Great fundraisers.
Yeah.
I mean, the fundraising that was done the time we started the new field was massive. Was that 240,000 or something we made?
That was in 2007.
We done every house in the county, and some outside the county. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
I spent a month on it showing myself. It was just,
yeah.
And then the young people were very good to us.
They were very generous, weren't they? Apart from our local community, we shouldn't forget the local and the neighbouring club areas as well. They were very supportive of that draw.
Huge,
very much.
Huge. It was a record draw, that,
From Glen to Glenties, we got great support. But we didn't really expect the same support when we went out. But I must say, and this as well, Inishowen, it was probably outside of the local area, it was the easiest place to sell tickets.
when you ask them to buy a ticket, they were smiling and say, "Well, if you came this far, we'll buy a ticket."
True enough. True enough.
They were very good to us.
Yeah, but there was great support that time, and there was a lot of volunteers out night after night selling tickets.
The amount of houses down there, even down around Ballyliffin and down there, when you go out around this side road, you think there are no houses, but until you go up and there's houses everywhere.
Yeah.
A lot of houses. You're surprised.
Yeah, they're even inviting us in for tea and sandwiches.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
Very good to you. Yeah.
They realised how far we were from home, because many of them would never have been down the south of the county.
No, that's right. That's right.
Probably knew of somebody from the area. Yeah, that was a great venture.
Great times, yeah, great times.
Yeah, yeah. But getting back to the football club, the club came on after, when immigration, I'm not saying stopped, but people started staying at home, probably because of the fishing in Killybegs. There was more employment around the area, and the club improved on the football field. I'm not talking about the administration of the club, but on the football field, we began to get a wee bit of success, towards the end of the 70s.
Yes.
And then, you remember that, and then went on the county final in 81.
Yeah. Well, the 70s, 80s, and 90s, you were contesting the quarterfinals, semi-finals, finals all the time, So,
yeah.
Yeah, if you didn't get to the semi-final, you'd be disappointed almost,
Certainly, yeah.
And it was very good times.
Yeah.
Even the first year, I think the first year that we went into the senior league, that Pikeeny goes into the senior league, from 76, was it, or 77?
76, I think it was,
I think we played Letterkenny in the league final the following year.
Mm-hmm.
Our first year in the league.
Yeah. And as well at that time, towards the end of the 70s, we got into the Gaeltacht football competition, and that added to the profile of the club too, because we started getting successful there.
But go back to Pikeeny and get into the senior league. I think going into the senior league that year was the best thing probably ever happened to the club. It made them sit up and look, and try harder, They had more of an ambition then, and they were a senior team, and they were more ambitious.
That's right. Yeah.
And they never looked back after that,
Never did. No. There was a great, from the late 70s into the 80s, and won the championship. Won the championship in 81 was a big one for the club, wasn't it?
It was huge. Yeah.
It was massive.
Huge.
Yeah. And
the one in 2000 then was massive for me.
Yeah.
Francis was playing centre field that day, and Johnny D was.
And you both their sons give a great service to the club, like both Eamon and Francis.
Oh yeah. No, I don't know. They tried hard. Francis kept up longer than Eamon, but they tried hard. Yes.
I always had great admiration for Eamon. I thought he was going to make a county footballer. When he was 14. 15, 16, 19, he was very, very, very. He was a driven player. He worked very hard.
Very, very, very good at underage.
Very competitive. Yeah.
Oh, well.
What's he and Francis? Were give us great service to the club at the time.
Oh yeah.
And then but we got kind of spoiled then, didn't we? Winning the championship in year 2000 and again 2004.
Yeah.
And as somebody said, it's easy to win championships. Well, we know since that it's not. But we had such good players, I suppose, that it was easy. We had a very, very.
We had very good players that time.
Yeah.
And a lot of them came of age then to one time, and
that's right.
I mean, there were 3 Dohertys playing at him, and.
That's right. Yeah.
There was a lot of the one house with great guts to a team.
Oh, yes. So 4 of them played in the 2000s.
4 Dohertys.
Yeah. But they were all more or less the same age, and they were, and I suppose it brings its own discipline with players as well, that they were so driven themselves, they wanted to win themselves, that it kept kind of a discipline within the team, that they just didn't stray away from the football.
That's right. Oh yeah, they were very good. Yes.
It was excellent. Yeah. But looking back, I suppose you think of people who made a massive contribution to the club. From the very early years, I suppose.
Well, I talk about 1 or 2 people in the early years. One of the early years, one of the men there in my early years with John Keane was very involved in the club. You know, I wasn't going to mention names, but I couldn't help but mention John.
Yeah, yeah.
But I remember well the time we went to America. I felt that it was one of the club nearly couldn't do without him. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought it was a wide loss to this club. It was one of the biggest losses ever. And then and the same thing happened to me in the 70s when I came back from America and got involved. I had a very good young fella along with me, Stephen Campbell. And then he went to London, and he was a wide loss.
Yeah, he had a keen interest in underage football, hadn't he? Very good.
If them two fellas had stayed around, there would have been big offices.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but there were others, I suppose, took their place then, you know.
Otherwise, yeah. Otherwise, we had some great club people.
Yeah, we were just so dedicated, you know, that became all important to them, like you, and maintaining the pitches, like there were others that they just put everything into looking after all Jade's teams and coaching them and getting them along. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, this question I'm going to ask you now, do you remember Dan Ward?
I do. Remember Dan Ward, yes.
Dan was one of the big names. I know as a youngster I often heard his name, but you know, he was dead before I grew up. But you remember? Have you any memories of Dan Ward?
I don't know a lot about him, but I know that he died from I think it was gangrene in the leg. He broke his leg and didn't look after it. I remember going around to the walking section and a big plaster on the leg for years before he died. Maybe not for years, but I remember walking, but I don't remember much more about him. I wouldn't have been at meetings in his time.
Right. You'd have been too young to know him that well, I suppose. But,
I think so.
Yeah, but he had such a big reputation, like not just in the club, but in the county as well.
Yeah, they were the great men both ways.
Sam and Sean Cassidy, yeah. Even though Dan would have been a lot younger than Sean Cassidy, wouldn't he?
He probably would have been, yeah. But he died very young.
Yeah, he was only 48 when he died.
He was fond of the beer too, I would say, you know.
Yeah, but he had a great reputation throughout the county as well.
Oh, yeah.
Brilliant administrator, you know. And you know, for a man that's so young who became county chairman and county secretary, you know, in his 30s, you know, he must have a great ability.
Yeah, he must have had, yeah. He's a great man with a pen in the books. Did he do a bit of reporting too?
Yeah. He did, yeah. He reported to the local presses, to the local papers, and at that time as well, there was a great interest in local court cases because there's a courthouse in our and that is what Kilkenny. So Dan went from one to the other, you know, and everybody bought the local papers at the weekend just to see who was in trouble. You know? So Dan had a way of writing these stories, you know, without offending anybody, but making the story interesting at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah, but people like that, you know, that really had such a passion and
they kept things going in the early days. Yes.
Yeah. And it's still going well. But recently, you know, we've had great people as well. You know,
I will tell you a wee funny story about Dan.
All right.
Cormac Conn of the Glen Identity, the pub in the Glen Identity, told me a wee story one about Dan. It was Charlie McDowell in Kilrain, must have got on the county team. He was only very young, and he travelled to the county game with Dan and Sean Cassidy. And on the way back from the county game, they went into a pub in my Charles. It was a big J pub. I forget the name of it now. But Charlie McDowell was after playing a great game. He was only very young, only about 18. And somebody offered him a drink. And they were offering him, I offered him whiskey and he took it. We were wrong now. But Sean's answer back to him was, he says, next time somebody asks you for a drink, don't say you'll take a half until you take a glass. Yeah, he says, you're a young man, you'll be playing for the county for many, many years. When somebody asks you again, do you want to drink, till you take a glass. Don't take a half one, take a glass. That was Dan's advice to a young footballer of 18.
The measure as big as possible. Money was scarce in those days.
Cormac Quinn, the Glenn told me that story.
Yeah, yeah. Money was scarce. Yeah. But there was a great culture as well of, drink and football, wasn't there? Destroyed a lot of good footballers, I suppose.
It seemed to be the drinking a big culture. There was a great drinking culture way back in those days. Surprising enough.
Yeah. But I suppose it's the only place you could go for recreation. Like there's no other outlets.
The pub was the only thing, I suppose. Yeah.
Oh, there's a big one after football matches they had for the.
The first team that I was involved in, there wasn't much drink involved in that.
No,
I was a good age to my first drink,
No. But it developed, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah. There's How do you see the future now, club? Are you very, very confident that our club will? But we have fantastic facilities at the moment.
And we have a very good underage structure, and we have a lot of workers, good workers in the club.
Yeah.
Listen, the main thing is that the club's going well. It's a good thing in the parish anyway, one way or the other, and it's good for the youth. They're all been well looked after. I think it's about to come. It goes in circles. It will come back. It will come back.
As well, yeah. Because the work has been put in now at underage, and you see it now in the younger age groups that they're very well coached and they're determined, and hopefully,
there's new gym. There's a new gym going up at the moment, and that'll be a big help too for the youth.
Yeah. Along with the other facilities, there's no excuse anymore.
No, they'll have everything they want.
That's right. Because in recent years, I know that you'd hear these comments that some of our senior players weren't physically well developed, if you know what I mean. They weren't as big
that's right.
Once players of their own age coming from other clubs. So
the senior gym now. The senior gym now to have a good senior team. You need to build them up. You have a gym.
Yeah, in recent years, Columba, you got a number of awards which are well deserved as a club worker, and the 3 or 4 national awards which you deserve thoroughly. And I hope that you continue on with your good work, and that you get many more awards, because you definitely deserve it. Everybody knows Columba Diver and is associated with the grounds down there in Kentucky, and the keen interest you've always had, and you have, and we know that you always will have, and we always know that the club is in safe hands as long as you're around. So thank you very much. And if you want to say anything as final.
I think I'm coming very near the age of retirement now, so I'll soon have to retire. I'll be forced out soon. I'm slowing down badly.
Age of retirement is all in the mind, you know that.
I'm slowing down badly, yeah.
You're all right. You're still going. Columba, thank you very much for talking to us, and this is an opportunity for the members of the club to hear you talking from your side of it. Thank you very much. Good meeting you.
Thank you, John Michael.